Today we'll be taking a look at the WWE's latest new signings that are getting early comparisons to the Bella Twins, a deep look into Roman Reigns' story, latest with Naomi, and much more. Let's start things off with the new set of WWE Twins that are already receiving comparisons to the Bella Twins and getting the label of being the next Bella Twins. This is of course the signing of the Cavinder Twins. Back in the early 2000s and even the early 2010s, there were barely any social media out there, so it was hard for college athletes to build a fan base and have some star power before the official start to their careers. But now in current day, there's so many platforms to share content on that college athletes are forming fan bases and have all this star power before their careers fully take off. The Cavinder Twins are a perfect example of college athletes that already have a growing fan base and a lot of star power. Hannah and Haley Cavinder are women's basketball players in Fresno State. Not only are they star players on the court, they're also social media juggernauts as well. Their TikTok page sits around 4 million followers and 90 million likes in total. The twins also have around 350,000 followers on their respective Instagram pages as well. On top of just signing with WWE, they have also several other active sponsorships and partnerships going on as well. Sports Illustrated even reports that the soon-to-be 22-year-old twins could be bringing in roughly $3 million a year from deals alone. They've been everywhere from ESPN to CBS to even Good Morning America to talk about their story and current success at the moment. One of their many deals that they currently have going on is of course a deal with WWE. WWE has launched the Next in Line program that will focus on signing college athletes that have an interest in working with WWE. WWE announced the signings of a whole lot of college talent, but the Cavinder Twins are easily the standout stars of the Next in Line class. It's been reported for a while now that WWE does want to start building a younger roster that revolves around talent in their early 20s rather than late 30s. So that explains a lot about this Next in Line program. The Cavinder Twins are already being labeled as the next Bella Twins, which is a lot of pressure considering that those are two Hall of Fame members right there with Nikki and Brie Bella. But of course, the real question is if the Cavinder Twins will even decide to go to the WWE route for their careers. They're gifted basketball players, they have everyone's attention, everyone is trying to pull them in different directions. So it'll be very interesting to see if they do put everything aside for the WWE after all. That's the question that remains unanswered for now. But they are on board for the Next in Line program, so we'll have to see what comes from that. Let's dive into the Roman Reigns story because there has been a lot of progression going on this week. Paul Heyman stands outside the parking lot waiting for Roman Reigns when all of a sudden Brock Lesnar appears from a truck. Paul looks scared and doesn't know what to do, while Brock Lesnar just playfully interacts with him and then walks away. Heyman is still waiting outside for Roman and he finally arrives. Heyman opens up the door for Roman, but Roman gets out on the other side, completely disregarding Heyman. The Bloodline then makes what could be their final full entrance together as a group. As expected, Roman Reigns addresses everything that happened last week and says that even though he wasn't there, he still knows all. He briefly touched on the Usos' losing streak, and this is quietly becoming an issue in the background of Roman's story. The Usos all of a sudden can't win a single match. They lost at Survivor Series and then proceeded to drop several more matches on SmackDown. So it's just very unusual and not the complete domination that we're used to seeing from the Usos and the Bloodline. They went from being unbeatable to not being able to beat anyone. So that's a nice little side story to keep your eyes on. If the Usos lose those tag team championships in an embarrassing fashion at day one, how will Roman react? Will Roman just kick them out if they lose their titles? It's possible. But back to SmackDown. Roman basically gives the Usos a pass for losing lately because he obviously has a bigger issue to deal with, and that's Paul Heyman. It looks like what Heyman did last week was the final nail in the coffin here for Roman's suspicions. Roman asked Heyman all of these questions that he first asked him several months ago, like if he knew about SummerSlam, Madison Square Garden, and the suspension being lifted. Heyman tries to get himself out of it, but when Roman asked for the truth, Heyman gave him the truth. He says that he wasn't protecting Brock Lesnar from Roman Reigns. He was trying to protect Roman Reigns from Brock Lesnar. That line from Heyman was a big, hard-hitting line. It wasn't a full confession for all the suspicious things that we've been seeing over the last few months, but what Heyman was basically saying there with that line is that he still believes Brock Lesnar is the better and more dangerous man over Roman Reigns. Roman obviously didn't appreciate that reveal at all. He hugs Heyman and thanks him for the 40 years of service to his family, but fires him and proceeds to attack him and take him out. Brock Lesnar appears to make the save for Paul Heyman and takes out Roman Reigns to close out the show. Roman Reigns firing Heyman puts their on-screen relationship to an end after 476 days together. But one of the new theories out there right now is that maybe it's not the full end to their relationship. Until Paul Heyman comes out and flat out stands aside Brock Lesnar, Heyman will basically become this wild card, free agent, so to speak. Now Paul Heyman is free to do whatever he likes to do. If Heyman wants to run back to Brock Lesnar, he finally can now. There's nothing preventing him from that happening anymore. Or if Heyman truly feels sorry and regretful, maybe he finds a new way to prove his loyalty to Roman Reigns. Maybe Heyman does something to take out Brock Lesnar at day one and earns Roman's trust back. Some fans said that Roman and Heyman's breakup felt very abrupt, and maybe it did feel like that within the segment itself, but this is a moment that's been teased since August, so the seeds were definitely planted for a long time. But that's what makes this storyline so great. We sort of know that Roman will most likely retain the title, but everything else around him feels unpredictable. What's going to happen if the Usos keep losing and eventually loses the titles? What's going to happen with Heyman now? Are we completely at the end of the Bloodline? There's so much to dive into there, so we'll be going over that story some more in the coming days. Quick update for Naomi and Sonya Deville's storyline. This week was another weak segment for the storyline. The segment featured Naomi calling Sonya out, only for Sonya to call in Shayna Baszler as a replacement. This was a copy and paste segment that we've seen a handful of times already over the last few weeks. So in terms of actual story progression, no progression was made to the story this week. It was pretty pointless, didn't advance the story at all, and just felt like they gave us a repeat of what we already saw because they had nothing new to the story. So overall, it's been a good story, but this week definitely didn't do anything for the progression of the story. It's getting to the point where they have nothing new and they just keep copying and pasting old segments. Then maybe it's time to fully have that Naomi vs. Sonya match after all. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.